Welcome to Finding Forgiveness, a family fairy tale podcast. Join host Susan Gibson as she summons the courage to ask the hard questions, probes deep, dark secrets, and attempts to fill in the gaps while exploring the relationship between her and her mother. Discover the magic of self-discovery, relationship exploration, and the profound journey of forgiveness. Now, your host, Susan Gibson.
I've come to the end of my podcast. I'm deeply honored that you're here with me today. Just as I opened my podcast a year ago with a letter to my mother, I'm closing in the same way. Perhaps you too would like to write a letter to someone you've forgiven or would like to forgive. It's always been my go-to when saying the words out loud seemed a bit frightening. A bit final. Hi, Mom. It's me, Susan. It's been a year since I last wrote to you. What a year it's been. A year of highs and lows, of the ordinary and the extraordinary, of the usual and the unexpected. All part of this wondrous adventure of being alive. My podcast, Finding Forgiveness, a Family Fairytale, is coming to an end. This is the last episode. We've been through a lot together. I've been through a lot of deep exploration, exposing tender spots, and sharing closely held secrets. Family secrets, your secrets, and my secrets. I've celebrated our family, our life together, and my life. I've explored my heroine's journey with the backdrop of you and our ancestors, my friends and foes, my allies and ogres. I've learned so much more about myself. You know how I love transformation. Transformation of organizations, transformation of others, transformation of myself. There are still mysteries that I haven't been able to crack open. What happened to you that led to your nervous breakdown in high school? I'll never know. Why did you tell me you and Ed, your second husband, got married when I came to live with the two of you as I entered my sophomore year in high school? You hadn't. And living this lie made it seemingly impossible to tell me when you did actually get married 10 years or so later. Then all those years that passed, knowing that I would find out upon your death because your marriage license was in amongst all your other legal documents, the whereabouts you'd pointed out to me frequently the years before you died. The secret still hurts a little, especially that some close people around me knew it and assumed that I knew, but I didn't, and I'll never know why. What happened to you in West Virginia when you made the decision to abandon me in my teenage years? This was such an intentional act on your part, writing a letter to my father saying you wanted nothing more to do with me. It wasn't like you just stopped communicating with me, but you intentionally said you wanted nothing more to do with me. I could go into a conspiracy theory about your membership in the Order of the Eastern Star and Order of the Freemasons allowing women in their secret society. Ed, husband number 2, was a Freemason, so it's not a far stretch to go into the cultish conspiracy theory. And I am fascinated by cults and by conspiracy theories. Fascinated from a sociological and frame of mind and historical frame of mind. Something happened in those years because it's not natural for a mother to abandon their child. And it's hard for me to accept that nothing happened to you, that you just didn't want anything to do with me. But I'll never know why. What I do know is that I'm grateful I found forgiveness with you. My saying I forgive you 12 years ago gave me permission to let go of the past, let go of the questions why, let go of an ideal that I held about a relationship we must have had in the past. If only we could get back to that. But I had no memory of such a relationship. I could finally let that go and form a new relationship with you, one that was lighter, one that brought out my curiosity about you instead of my criticism born of hurt, one that allowed us to find a place of peace, a place of no regret with one another. Was it perfect? Of course not. We can't erase the past or ignore the past, but we also can't live in the past. That's what I learned from you in the 9 years we had together after that fateful day of forgiveness. Living in the present, in the moment with one another. That's a gift I will always cherish. We still got frustrated with one another. We still fought from time to time, but we also created a deeply loving and caring relationship based upon mutual respect and admiration, recognizing our courage and our fears. One fear that I lost by forgiving you was the fear of losing you again, because I don't know why you abandoned me in the first place. I lived with this fear that it would happen again. That fear was gone when I said, I forgive you. You didn't abandon me again. Instead, we forged forward together in our new relationship. I know I found freedom in that moment. I suspect you did too. That was never something we talked about. I wish we'd had more time together, Mom. I wish you hadn't suffered so terribly for so many years with rheumatoid arthritis and osteoarthritis and living with congestive heart failure. 9 years in a new relationship is just a drop in a lifetime. But I'm grateful we had that time. And we made the most of it, the best way we knew how, laughing, sharing stories, and just being together with your cats, of course. I visited your grave when I went to northern Maine earlier this year. The cemetery is such a beautiful spot, and your grave on top of the hill, surrounded by your baby, my brother Edward, your parents, my grandparents, and all of our ancestors, is comforting in a way. I always feel surrounded by you and our ancestors, but I feel it most profoundly, most deeply when I'm standing on the land of our ancestors. Our family fairy tale stretches far beyond Perham, this small rural community in northern Maine, but our family fairy tale is alive in Perham. We're part of the earth there. We're part of the air there. We're part of the pioneering history there, something I'm proud of, something that I'm finally tied to, I'm grounded to in my nomadic life. After we buried you in this cemetery in August 2022, I had a dream. I have vivid dreams, and this one was especially poignant. I was in my house in Perham, my grandmother's house, the house you were born and raised in, with your sister and 2 brothers, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, all close by, some even living with you over those early years. A lot of my dreams center around this house. It was not in the state of deconstruction, reconstruction that it is in reality, but how it was when I was growing up, spending Sundays, school holidays, and sick days in that house with my grandmother, Mary, your mother, my Grammy. It was a nice summer day, Nice northern Maine summer day. Blue skies, big puffy white clouds, green grass, light breeze blowing. When I entered the house, I could hear a radio playing some old pop song, not unlike the 45s you and Daddy played in our house when I was a young girl. I looked out onto the wraparound porch, and I saw you. Your back was towards me, and you were hanging your laundry on the clothesline inside the porch, something you'd done hundreds of times as a young girl growing up in that house. And I knew that you were home, back amongst our ancestors, connected to the earth and the sky, the plants and the trees, the animals, the birds, the insects, and even the frogs in the pond. Our home, our family fairy tale. I love you, Mom. Though this is the last episode of my podcast, Finding Forgiveness, a Family Fairy Tale, it's not the end of our time together. I'd love to hear from you. You can email me at hellosusan@findingforgivenesspodcast.com. Thank you for being with me and listening to my family fairy tale. A big thank you to the team at Produce Your Podcast for helping me share my family fairy tale. You're all now part of my family fairy tale. I'm Susan Gibson, signing off with gratitude and appreciation.
Thank you for listening to Finding Forgiveness, a family fairy tale podcast. To continue the conversation, visit findingforgivenesspodcast.com and send an email to hellosusan@findingforgivenesspodcast.com to share your story. Until we meet again.